Do you remember that kid from school when The Walking Dead was at its peak of pop culture? What did they become? Where did they go? What am I doing with my life? When did it all become so complicated? It feels like every day I shrink further into fantastical escapism. One of my last bastions of intrigue and joy, staving my mind from the vast monotonies of adult life by fantasizing about what I would do in the total collapse of society. When the bombs fall, when the earth shakes, when the dead rise. Would you look at that? My meandering melodramatic monologue brought us neatly along to today's topic, 7 Days to Die. While I can't assuage your existential dread, I can tell you where that kid went. He's pursued a career in programming, and he works at Funpins. 7 Days to Die was released in the ancient era of 2013, and it's been on the grind ever since. With Alpha 21 releasing and their decade anniversary fast on the horizon, I thought it was the perfect time to discuss what a gem this game has become. Do you like surviving? Do you like crafting? Do you like breaking and entering, killing a home's inhabitants in cold blood, ransacking the place, and then growing blueberries in their backyard with the compost you made of their own mulch remains? Then you may enjoy 7 Days to Die. In 7 days, you're dropped into middle America, naked and afraid. I know this is America by the fact that you can find a 9mm handgun in the toilet. Any red-blooded American will instantly recognize this iconic CBW location. Once loaded in, you'll then have 7 days to find your footing, build defenses, manage supplies, and prepare for the weekly protest rally of the militantly unvaccinated. I think this door is about to fall.
I would have loved it. Yep, there we go.
The irony of this game's name will not be lost upon me, but I get it. 7 days to reinforce every block to cobblestone doesn't have quite the same ring. The plot of 7 days is as follows. There is an outbreak of the flu that makes both humans and animals thirst for warm blood, most of the world is irradiated, and worst of all, the IRS is still operational. That joke's based wholly in reality, by the way. The IRS has a plan to tax you even after we've been fucking nuked. On the bright side, their plot is yet to be implemented in this timeline, but trust you me, when the time comes, I'll be prepared. Because there is literally a pipe bomb in my mailbox. On the topic of mailboxes, everything you see in this world is destructible or upgradable. So you can strip your house down to its foundation, or you can reinforce your mailbox with rebar and concrete so the next time you're drunk of a neighbor with the Jeep Wrangler veers off the street, it'll be their last. What resources you kings don't use on your castles can be used in all the other crafting elements in the game. Short pipe, pipe shotgun. Iron scrap, Iron Man. Rotten flesh, delicious meal. You can build nearly everything from the base components that you tear out of your environment, excluding key components typically involving tools and vehicles. Shotguns that can't be fabricated in a Home Depot discount department require shotgun parts. A chemistry station requires a flask marked with the devil's measurements. A 4x4 pickup truck with fixed dozer blade and appropriate Mad Max livery, and assumably a V12 engine, crafted completely from scratch at a basic workstation. Collect these key components to improve both your living conditions and unliving capabilities, and you'll quickly fall into 7 days game loop. Kill, craft, expand, kill again. The most dying getting done is on the part of the already dead, and 7 days provides you with 5 classes to deal double death with. Peasant, Barbarian, Mage, British, and Irish. These classes contain a respective melee and ranged weapon, along with a laundry list of perks to aid you in your playstyle. For example, speccing into Perception will allow you to channel your inner caveman, handle precision weapons with more effectiveness, as well as make pipe bombs and strip copper wire with clinical-grade expedience. If you're big-brained and would rather make a self-sufficient Grimworld-style kill house while you cruise the waste cranking your hog, Intellect is the class for you. The only issue I have with the current skill system is that you can easily be able to rewire a house or build a motorcycle, but you couldn't grill a steak with a gun to your head, which is a very real possibility in this game. Since my cooking skill is akin to a college student leaving their family home for the first time, I resort to alcoholism. In doing so, I am immune to the side effects of the angry juice, enjoy a higher pain tolerance, harvest bountiful potato yields, have an aptitude with automatic weapons, and throw Mike Tyson uppercuts at zombies so they can no longer infect me. This is a great boon. There's a lot of ways to die in the wasteland. A punctured artery, starvation and dehydration, exposure to the elements, radiation poisoning, and shitting yourself to death, to name a few. Delivering a swift blow to your enemy's face with enough force to lodge a molar into their frontal cortex lets you breathe easy, knowing you won't get infected. This won't stop them from hitting you with that 2 real-life hours broken arm and bleed stack combo.
Not like this.
However, apply a splint to any shattered extremity and a band-aid on your lacerated brachial artery, and you'll be fit as a fiddle in a few minutes. While in previous days of 7 days, these afflictions were an uncommon nuisance, and your friends were usually a greater danger to you than the undead, the zombies of Alpha 21 must be chowing down on the bear's necessities, as these roided out freaks can break limbs with a single blow. After you've gotten your ass swiftly and concisely kicked, your next consideration will probably be finding a home to rest your weary cheeks. At the start of the game, you are given a land claim block. This block prevents intruders from stealing your porch, and will prevent zombies from spawning inside this area. Once you've either found a home to squat in, or elected to embrace primitive living, set this block down to manifest your destiny and start building the stronghold of your dreams. Building has become quite expansive in this game. Nearly every shape that can be found in prefabricated buildings can be fabricated by you with this one simple trick. Here is a brief tutorial. Craft frame blocks, select them in your hotbar, and hold the reload button. This will bring up an option wheel. The top option offers you an entire catalog of the building blocks at your disposal. Once you're thoroughly discouraged by the sheer vastness of this feature, you can move on to the right choices: copy shape and advanced placement. Here's how copy shape works. Advanced placement allows you to maneuver blocks to whatever orientation you desire, so you can recreate Dutch artist M.C. Escher's relativity, thus confusing your enemy. I haven't experimented much with building from scratch, but there is a similar trait that I'm quite invested in: house flipping. The absolute variety of structures in 7 days makes this an awesome way to build a base. And with no HOA to harass me, I can add necessary household features to my own goddamn property. With all the building block options, you can redesign and renovate to your heart's content. And when you're finished, there's even decor objects, paints, plants, and lighting. So you can create a completely sterile, hollow attempt at a lived-in home for that amateur photographer you hired to post pictures of it on the property auction site. Sometimes I pretend it's pre-2008, and I could actually afford to own a house like this. Say, speaking of collapsing housing markets, look at this collapsed home. Appraised at a value of 300,000 USD. Some minor structural damage. I heard the last inhabitants died in there. Let's go see what the loot drop looks like. 7 days is a game stage calculator that determines the find out phase during your fuck around era. This includes loot tables, zombie spawns, XP levels, and trader merch. Crack open the military grade strongbox at level 30 and you may find an assault rifle, or maybe a 44 Magnum. Crack open the strong one with the boys at level 1 and you'll find some stone axes and some glue. Must have been Marine's footlocker. As you scale in level, the loot you find will scale with you, but so will the enemies you fight. Late game combat usually devolves into a blur of gunfire and cleaving limbs and a bloody maelstrom. It is indeed blurry because you just got hit with your 3rd fucking bleed in a row. As you progress in levels, you'll feel up to the challenge for these much bigger structures. Let's detour for a bit and talk about how awesome level design in this game is. I heard from somewhere, I don't know where, don't at me, that the devs have a reverse dungeon philosophy for building their bigger POIs. Skyscrapers, prisons, factories, hospitals, missile silos. These superstructures have a winding labyrinth for you to navigate, filled with traps, enemies, literal pitfalls, and that legendary loot table. I've always wanted to build a super base in one of these, but I think we need more people in the party to do that. More on that later. Just in Alpha 21, over 300 points of interest have been completely remastered in graphics and layout, and I think this is a key to the game's longevity. And honestly, they've gotten pretty good at environmental storytelling. Like, you can't help but wonder what kind of cult shit went down here. How long did these guys last? Why does literally every crack house have an underground meth lab? I guess that one's a bit redundant. Explore all these interesting and lucrative locations to your heart's content, but remember, you're always on the clock. The witching hour fast approaches.
We got a witch! Witch! I see that bitch! Bitch!
But it isn't witches you have to worry about. It's getting run down like the
Bitch!
you are.
Bitch is chasing me!
While you're at it, be aware of what day it is. Every 7 days in-game, the Lord sleeps. And the blood moon rises, bringing with it the undead. man. Also, don't be like me and my friends and wait until mid-afternoon on the 7th day to go, so how about those base defenses? It will be suboptimal. Then again, you can painstakingly evaluate your defenses, pouring hours of thought and effort, mountains of resources, and a dozen skill points into a battlement that you can be proud of, just for the 7th night to roll around and show you just how fatal a flaw that one misplaced block was. So really, take that advice with a pinch of salt. On the note of the 7th day in 7 days, you can absolutely cheese the hell out of this game. You can just do what you do in real life and run away from your problems. You could build a panic room and run out the clock until daybreak, listening to the endless howls of the undead just above you. Or, you could crank up the game's built-in XP settings and make the 7th day akin to D-Day, where you're fighting for the funny mustache man. You have an arsenal at your disposal and grand fortifications, built to stand 1,000 years. Unfortunately, you're still the Germans. And the best part is that the 7th night is still a fun experience in every way. This experience is increased by exponents with some friends. That's because the number of enemies spawned is tied directly to the player count. I doubt that 7 Days does this intentionally, but it certainly feels like you get an even spread of the loot from all of each other's classes, constantly connecting the team and promoting playing as a cohesive unit. It's also completely unnecessary to work together, which leaves opportunity for lone wolves, deserters, and rival warbands. I've never had enough friends to play with separate groups, and public lobbies frightened me ever since Rust, but it certainly sounds cool. Maybe I could crowdsource such an activity, have a dedicated server with some random gen world. I don't know, could be cool. Let me know down in the comments so we can form some parasocial relationships. The kind where you absentmindedly leave me a nice comment and I treasure it forever. Combat in this game is like playing some of my other favorite games. Janky, unbalanced, and now, pretty damn unforgiving. Swap between melee and ranged weapons to roll in like machete or take it sneaky beaky like. I like both, but I feel like there's a gigantic oversight over some of the classes. Playing as a sniper when you have to deal with this isn't great, and I'm not really sure what stealth builds do on the 7th night. Hide in the attic, maybe? I don't know, I face my problems like a man. I must admit, when you see some cracked out little shit like this sleeping in the corner, having a marksman feels pretty good. There's lots of different zombies in this game, and for all the Left 4 Dead clones out there, I think 7 Days gets a gold star for taking from the best source material in the genre, yet still having its own personality and its enemies. They still have boomers, spitters, jockeys, a good mix of the chaff to gun down, but they also have zombified carrions, probably infected from the rotten flesh they've been consuming. They have zombie dogs, so you can shit yourself when you hear this growl, somewhere in the back of your mind drudging up that one scene from the first Resident Evil movie that ruined Dobermans for me for about a decade. Speaking of fearing for my life, I must admit something. I have fooled you. You see, 7 Days to Die isn't a survival crafting game. It is an American police officer simulator where you get to exercise your deepest prejudices under the guise of them being flesh-eating, reanimated corpses. The obese, differently abled, household pets. To be fair, they are violating the NAP, so as far as I'm concerned, your actions are justified. But, let's keep this in the department. I'll get Deputy McLard to erase the body cam footage for you.
Oh my god, you black piece of shit. What the hell?
Whoa. It really is hard to contain your unbridled bigotry in this game, but hear me out. Here is the context of that last soundbite.
On Juneteenth of all days.
Look at him.
Oh my god.
That is a freak.
That's a demon.
It's just not natural.
Me.
Christ. Anyway, you may have noticed that this review has been disjointed, swinging between base building, random footnotes, and combat. This is definitely by design, as I am circling back and forth between fighting, looting, and building, just like how you would do in the game. This is my alibi, and I am sticking to it. Alright, end of the video segue before I get kicked off of YouTube. This game is good enough on its own, that's for sure. I have put several hundred hours into it without any. But since playing this game with a small group, I don't think I could play it any other way. I cherish my friends.
Wait, Nick, wait, Nick, wait, Nick, wait, Nick. God damn it, Nick. Nick, stop! I am Block picking it, you fuck.
There's just enough shenanigans, teamwork, and survival traits to make this a team-based game on a mechanical level, and I literally couldn't imagine doing this without my friends, because I shudder to think of the hours I'd have to dump into it in order to be able to be remotely efficient at all of the roles that need to be filled out now. I'm honestly shocked that the Rust community hasn't latched onto this game yet. There is so much opportunity for intense rivalries, thriving post-apocalyptic Khan empires, base building that definitely beats the hell out of whatever is going on here. It really is incredible what a small team of dedicated individuals were able to do here. And thus, my lesson comes to you. You could take on this apathetic world on your own, taking pride in your singular actions as you build up your empire, and that is certainly a laudable action. But personally, I think I'd prefer to take on this waste world with a couple good fellas and some good gallows humor.
Hey, what do you have on them?
Nothing.
Loot his
What
corpse!
are these
Loot his
schematics?